Good afternoon, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Festival of Discovery. You've landed on the open mic stage, and this is our final episode of our Stories from the Stage happening this weekend, which is all about providing a spotlight on ordinary people's passions, projects and perspectives from where they are, and they'd love to share them with you. In this session, I'll be delighted to introduce you to three such people. That's Chloe, Marina and Alison. And they would love to hear your reflections or questions as they're chatting with me. And you can do so in the comments box as we go along. And then I'll be able to bring those into the conversation at the end. So first of all, let's welcome Chloe in. Hi there, Chloe. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. So can we just start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Chloe and I co-founded and set up Furloughed Foodies with a friend of mine, Floris. I found myself furloughed at the beginning of April and Floris just asked me to cook some meals for some NHS workers. So from then it kind of snowballs into something much bigger.
Okay, that's intriguing to hear something much bigger. So tell me, what has it turned into, and what do you do with Furloughed Foodies?
So at the beginning of April, Floris asked me to cook some meals for some NHS workers. And then we kind of realised that lots of people are probably going to be furloughed. And lots of people would probably want to do something to help. Lots of people would just be stuck at home. It was the beginning of the pandemic. So we just set up a social media handle and we set up our website and just posted it on our own personal network. And then within a couple of days, we literally were inundated with people asking to help. So it kind of escalated into us delivering to about 15 hospitals across London. And then as months went on, we actually transitioned into delivering to food banks and homeless shelters because the pressure on the NHS was starting to relieve. So we decided to kind of switch our services to support those most in need.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. So I've got a little bit of information that I'll check out with you, but is it right that you've stretched to 500 volunteers since March? Have I got that fact correct?
Yeah, so it started off as just, a few friends cooking some meals together, and then as time went on, we ended up having around 500 volunteers across various different boroughs in London. And then we actually raised about 30,000, and in the end we delivered about 30,000 meals too.
That's incredible. I mean, the numbers that you can't even imagine, and when you think about it just being since March, that's amazing. Yeah, well done, and thank you to you guys. And just the reflection on that sort of human compassion, particularly during coronavirus. I wonder if you've got, a perspective on firstly, what's your secret in getting so many people involved, but how brilliant many people have been during that time?
Yeah, it kind of, I think at the beginning of April, everyone sort of in the country was kind of banding together and there was a real sense of community and no one really knew what to expect with the virus. So everyone wanted to do anything they could to help. I mean, the NHS volunteer scheme was inundated with people wanting to volunteer. And I think we kind of set up at just the time when loads of people wanted to help. So it really just grew organically from us just posting on social media and, posting on Instagram and then our friends and family sharing it and then just kind of word of mouth. And it really, what I've learned from this is that people actually are, people are really nice and people do really want to help. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Perfect. And you said before that you were furloughed yourself. Is it right that you were a marketing manager previously? It's like I know a thing about you, Chloe, sorry. So from marketing manager to furloughed foodie, what a difference in what you could be doing has happened to you. So what impact has that had on you, and has it made you change perspective in any way?
Yeah, I think I was furloughed at the beginning of April, and I think I wanted to use my skills in marketing to help in any way I can. So, I used my digital skills to create the website and to kind of set up the social media channel to help spread the word and to help raise money to, fund the organisation. But what I would say is that obviously, we were all volunteering. Everyone that helped out, like everyone was just doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. So I think what I've definitely learned is when something's really meaningful, that's probably the biggest motivator. I work in tech, so it's completely different. I definitely really enjoy that, but I definitely think I've learned that doing something more meaningful is definitely much more motivating.
Yeah, and a lesson to us all about, doing something meaningful, but using the skills that you have to make that meaningful as well. So you turned, what you're excellent at into a way that you could help a scheme. And I think that's good to know that there's room for everybody when people are looking to get involved in something. It is what you bring, you can make that happen. I'm just going to bring in a really lovely question that we've had from somebody already on the feed, and I'll show you here. So from Stuart, as the idea clearly was developing into something that would grow and grow, how did other people's positive and negative input affect how you decided or how you continue to decide to go forward?
I'm just going to read this question.
Sure.
I think, the way that it grew was basically Floris and I just asking everyone we knew to help us. There is no kind of like secret formula. We literally asked everyone we knew to help us. So for example, we pulled in people to help us do like PR press releases. Someone that was a videographer like helped us put together a nice kind of campaign video. And I think, loads of people just were getting in touch with us saying, oh, we want to help you, we want to put you in touch with this organisation, or this company wants to donate some food. So I would say there wasn't really any negative. I can't remember any negative things happening, but I would say, mostly it was positive.
Fabulous. Oh, that's been really great. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Chloe? I will bring you back again at the end as well, but if there's anything right now, yeah, please, we'd love to hear it if there's anything else.
No, I would just say, if I think I was just so surprised that, we kind of set this up, it grew organically. And I think if you have an idea and you want to do something positive to help people during this time, just go for it, because you'll be surprised how many people will want to help you. So just go for it, and don't think that, little old me, who's going to listen to me, because I think, this was a small thing that then turned into something much bigger. So, go for it.
Excellent. That reminds me of that saying, from small acorns mighty oaks grow, isn't it? And just having that little glint of a spark of wanting to get involved in something and where that's led. So yeah, well done to you, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to pop you back into the waiting room, and then we'll see you again at the end. Thanks, Chloe. Okay, so our next guest we have is Marina Robb. Hi, Marina.
Hi, Sam. Hi.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah.
Good. So the same thing as we did with Chloe. I'd just love you to introduce yourself to everybody, if you may.
Yeah, I'm director of an organisation, a community interest company called Circle of Life Rediscovery, and then more recently, The Outdoor Teacher, which is a bit more online than in person.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about one or both of those.
Well, Circle of Life Rediscovery was set up about 16 years ago, and it's grown into a training organisation, but also loads of funded projects to work with people in nature. So it's all about taking people from different backgrounds and different situations into nature as long as we can, as often as we can. And yeah, in the last sort of 10 years, lots of partnerships with the NHS as well. So it's really nice to hear, yeah, Chloe talking about her project as well with the NHS. So there's a link there.
Excellent. And you said it started about 16 years ago. So was there a spark that caught your attention to get you in it to begin with?
I think I've been working with groups for about 30 years actually in the outdoors, but that particular time of my life, I was lucky enough to be asked to go on a voluntary training in Canada with the Rediscovery Foundation, which was all about bringing people from Indigenous cultures into the conversation, I guess, and learning from them. And then I came back to England and just really felt that it just really wanted to create an organisation that could offer for free to loads of different groups. Yeah, whether that was teenagers, families, people with mental health difficulties, into nature. So, but I've always been really interested in other ways of thinking and different perspectives on nature and what that can bring us, especially in this time that we're living in, you know. And I wanted to learn from other people, as I still do, and that's part of what we do.
Fantastic. So day to day, what does the CIC look like? What's its offerings to people? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, more recently we've been working on a dementia project and an early psychosis project. So what that really means is that we work in partnership to get groups that have had some difficulty, I guess, into the woods. And we hope, all being well, we have about sort of 10 weeks with those groups. And that's what we're doing. So we'll do that. And then we'll also, I mean, my big passion is to see how we can bring this work into the mainstream more, you know, so that whether you work in the health sector or whether you work in education, that you're bringing this kind of what we call person-centered approach to people, and making it accessible, because that's one of the things that people say is that, you know, not everybody lives near nature, right? So for me, it's about how do we empower teachers or childcare workers to put in nature as part of what they do. So there's kind of two things. One is really about directly offering those programs, and then on the other hand, hopefully teaching people to do that. So what I'm really excited about is next year we're hopefully going to be working with health teams so that they then can take their clients into nature. And I guess that's that thing about transforming communities, is that if people feel that they can do that, then, well, that's my idea anyway, that if they feel they can do that, then more and more people will be able to do it as part of what they offer their clients, or their, you know, whoever you are. And I think nature is an amazing space to be in, both because of all the senses that are stimulated in nature, but also because it's such a non-judgmental space. I mean, I think a lot of people have felt it, haven't they, since March, that it's the one place that we can go to that feels a little less stressful. And I think that's part of the magic of it.
That's been, you know, the outdoors. I think it's something that we've all been really grateful for, and you know, underestimate or sometimes take for granted that it's always there. But all of a sudden, it's become so important to so many people. And what I love about what you're describing is taking that one step further, and as well as having an impact on your doorstep with, you know, local communities, you're now enabling people to do that wherever they live, and spreading that out. So that's a really lovely sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing with the outdoor teacher thing, was so even though it seems completely contrary to think about the online aspect, but at the same time, if people can study and come up with these ideas through the screen like we're doing now, then that might be an easy way for them to learn, and a cheaper way for them to learn, rather than having to go to a course. Not that replaces it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I read on your website that you'd put putting the World Wide Web generation in touch with the whole wide world. That's just lovely. And it's ironic that we should be talking about it over here. But there is that hybrid, isn't there? And a bit of both needed in order to reach different audiences.
I think so. Yeah, you get a wider reach. And I did some traveling in China a few years ago, and I was a bit overwhelmed by the numbers of a small city being like 30 million people. And it I guess it scared me a bit. It shocked me a bit about, you know, if we really want to move into cultures locally and all over the world, if we want to start building that connection, then we need to build that into our systems, don't we? I mean, I'm sure, yeah, I think it's essential, but we've got to feel it. We've got to want to do it. We don't want to be forced to do it. And I think the way we feel that is to actually have good experiences, even when we're from any age, but certainly starting at the beginning of our lives. So yeah, so I want to be part, and I'm hopefully part of a growing community like the Eden Project as well, you know, that wants to make it more accessible for more people.
So let's just finish with a really nice note on. I'd love to hear if you've got a favourite story, you know, of an impact that it's had on an individual or on you, but anything that you can point to that sticks in your mind as being memorable for you.
I've got so many.
Sure.
I'm thinking of, I mean, I just think even a bunch of teenagers sitting around a fire and saying, I never, you know, a fire is better than a TV, or just the conversations, the laughing. I can't actually pick out one story, only that I know, you know, I know that it's those sort of spaces where people feel most at home and most belong. And I mean, last week, the dementia group said this gave me a reason to get out of bed. So there's a sad thing about being, you know, so many communities are so isolated and how this work can reduce that. But then there's the craziness of being in the wild and just playing, and, you know, that we can relax. And yeah, I can't give you one. There's too many.
That's fine. That's fine. And all of that has just, you know, put a massive smile on my face. That's really lovely. Thank you so much, Marina, for spending some time with us. I'm going to pop you back backstage to our virtual green room, and then I will welcome Alison on, and we'll meet you again at the end. Thank you so much. Hello.
Hi,
so
hi.
From being out there in nature, we come to somebody now who shares that joy and depicts it for us in beautiful images. So Alison, let me allow you to introduce yourself.
So hi, my name's Alison Critchlow, and I'm a painter. I'm an artist, and I'm based up in North Cumbria, so on the border between Scotland and England. So yeah, I totally understand where Marina's coming from when she's talking about how important it is to spend time outside, and actually that's really where my process begins as well. So I thought I might just share a bit of my work and show you what I do, because that's a bit easier for a painter than just talking without images. So would you mind sharing the images, Sam, and I'll talk you through it?
Of course. Yep. So let me get that. You should be seeing that now.
Well, I'm not yet. Oh, here it is. Yep.
Very perfect. Good. Okay, there we go.
There we go. So I'm predominantly a landscape painter. So I do spend a lot of my time outside doing this type of thing, using a sketchbook. So if you show us just the next couple of slides, these are pages from a sketchbook. And what I tend to do, I use it as a way of spending time, you know, and slowing down and really noticing what's happening around me. And some of it is very everyday stuff. So on the right hand side there, that's some crabs in the tide line. So I live by an estuary. So for me, you know, it's quite a grubby looking tide line sometimes, but I just think you can't underestimate how important it is to spend time actually noticing how beautiful the little bits are. And the one on the left is a typical, you know, very quick sketch of just how the light catches across the estuary. I just think it takes your breath away, and if you don't notice the beauty around you wherever you live, I think that's a real shame. And for me, painting is my way of understanding the world. So I think, although it seems a bit daft to spend time searching through the tide line, I actually think it's really important. So carry on and I'll show you some of the finished paintings. Would you flip us to the next one? Okay, so these are a couple of paintings made some years ago now, but they give you the idea. I used to live in the mountains for quite a long time, and I spent time really trying to learn how to paint the light, and you know that really the way the clouds move really quickly, and just trying to capture something about the air and the wind and learning how to do that. So move us on again, Sam, and we'll have a look at the next one, if you would. So this one is a big sea painting. I've done a lot of sea paintings over the years, and a lot of them are quite factual, you know, waves breaking in particular places, but a lot of them are also emotional paintings. So this one, I would say it's called Calm Sea. It's quite big. I think it's a metre 20. And really it's a headspace painting. So although it's called Calm Sea, there's quite a lot of tension under that water. And I think any creative process gives you the option to actually express emotional stuff that's maybe quite hard to talk about. And I think that can be very beneficial to anybody. So move us on. So these two are perhaps 10 years later, so they're more recent pictures, and you can see how my viewpoint's changed a bit. I've started to sort of throw my viewer right into the water and really finding ways of using paint in a very experimental way, actually pouring it on quite often and splashing around. Things get horribly messy, but I love the idea that the paint itself can have an energy and make you feel alive, you know, make you feel like you're in that sea. So if you move us on again, sorry, it's a whistle-stop tour, this. So in 2010, I went up to the Arctic and spent time drawing in Arctic Greenland. So we have got a couple of paintings here that were made actually 5 years after that trip. So I made lots of paintings straight away, and then revisited in my mind, kind of from memory, painted these enormous canvases. So these are, I think they're 1.50 m, maybe a bit bigger across. So they're quite large deliberately, and they have this sense of deep time. So I've never been anywhere like the Arctic. It's extraordinary. It's absolutely beyond beautiful. It's so clear. It's actually vast, pure, beautiful, and terrifying at the same time. Absolutely terrifying to see the speed at which the inland ice cap is melting. It's extraordinary to put into words, really. And so I think I put it into paint. So this particular iceberg, so if you think about how an iceberg's made, it's the snow falls, obviously, and gets compressed over thousands and thousands of years. And then eventually a chunk from the front of the glacier will carve off. So then you've got this iceberg floating free that in time, they sometimes bits drop off them and they'll flip over. So this one, you can see all those stones and lumps in it. They are actually the stones from the bottom of a glacier that have been frozen into the ice. So it's literally like this piece of deep time floating by. So would you show us the next one? So this one is another of these paintings, same size again. This one's called Closing In. And if you could see the real painting, it's quite thinly painted, it's quite drippy. And it's quite menacing, you know. It's got this sense of something you can't see that's happening beneath the surface. And actually, really, I think it's a picture about time running out for that particular Arctic landscape. And I'm interested by this idea that you keep a little chunk of places you've spent time in your mind. And I think I have a bit of the ice cap in my mind, and I think I will keep from memory painting ice every so often. So would you move us on and we'll rattle through the rest. So following that, I did a whole series of work really thinking about time and erosion, actually, and how those processes work. So the one on the left is a bird cliff, and all the white drippy paint is, well, actually it's the bird poo on the side of a cliff. But I'm interested in trying to find a way with the paint to make it really replicate what you're experiencing, what you're looking at. The one on the right is a sea stack up in Hander Island, and I did a lot of pouring the paint to try and really get the sense that the sea is actually shaping the land, and that sense of how something really fundamental is shaping our land. So would you move us on again? Thank you. So there's 3 of these paintings which we can just flip through one after the other. I did a residency up on the Isle of Iona, so that's in the Hebrides up in northwest Scotland. And I spent a whole month just painting on the beach one particular set of rocks and looking at how the waves came in around that particular set of rocks as a way of trying to chart time, I suppose. And I find that fascinating, this sense that you've got these rocks that are all about, you know, they've got deep geological time in there. And then you've got these crashing waves. So this kind of force that's kind of quite hard to paint because it's so instant. But I love that. There's something about the fact that this thing that's so instant is actually constant. You know, it's been doing that forever. I just think that's mind-blowing. So anyway, I can go on forever. Let's move on. So after Iona, I was then working at the Wordsworth Trust in Grasmere for a while on a project they did called Weather Words, which was a beautiful project all about painting the weather. As a result of that project, I spent enough time there and helped curate an exhibition there that I became fascinated by William Wordsworth's actual creative process. So his poetry and the way he worked was very influenced by the landscape around him. And that sort of led on one way and another to me spending 2 years on and off painting from his garden, so from Dove Cottage garden in Grasmere. These are tiny little paintings, and they're part of a huge series. So there's probably, I don't know if there's maybe about 40 of them all together, and they're all painted from one bench in the garden. And it's a similar idea to the rocks in Iona. I was really wanting to stay in that one spot and chart the changes through the seasons. The flowers sort of come and go, and see if I could pick up the rhythm of the garden. So that's what they were all about. Would you move us on to the next one? Thank you. So the next one, this is similar, from the same bench again. This is a Concertina book I made, just a continuation of the same. So a Concertina book is like a big long zigzag of paper. And this one's about 70 pages. So I could sort of draw on both sides. And I did lots of drawing like this, just really looking at the rhythm of the flowers. And would you move us on? Sorry, I know I'm talking a bit quickly, but I'm conscious of the time. So I also went and spent quite a few night times there, painting at night. So this is the first nighttime painting. I know it sounds bonkers, painting at night, but it's actually extraordinary. It's a magical, magical thing to do. So if you paint at night, it takes maybe it takes about 5 minutes for your whole head to sort of calm down a bit. And you have to sort of get into that space where you stop trying to work out what everything is and you sort of unhook daytime logic. And once you do that, then it's actually magical and you just sort of sink into this wonderful nighttime experience. So because you can't see things very well, your hearing is much sharper and you're really painting from perception as much as from what you can see. That's quite fascinating. So in this painting, this is when the snow started falling. So it was in December, it was perishingly cold. Anyway, move us on to the next one, if you would. So this is another nighttime painting. And this lovely thing happens, which is that shapes that you wouldn't notice in the day become much more important. So these are the trees at the edge of the garden, which you don't notice in the day so much because you look at the view beyond them. And at night, their shapes merge together and they become, I don't know, almost like some creature, you know. So you're sort of, you're painting half from imagination, actually. And I just think it's spellbinding, actually. I think everyone should spend a few hours outside looking at the stars and the sky, taking it all in. You know, this stuff happens every single night and it's breathtaking if you watch it. So would you just flip us on to whatever the next, here we go. So I also went at night to paint in the summer. So this is a painting of the gloaming. So the gloaming is after the sun has dropped below the horizon, but before it's dark. And you get that magical moment where everything glows for a little while and the pale flowers glow the most and they glow for the longest. So these are some pale flowers beside the back of the cottage. The idea of the painting is that there isn't really a focal point, but that you sort of look at it from left to right. And it's that magical transition from light to dark, which is so hard to pin down. So if you take us to the last one, Sam, would you? This is an abstract painting made in the studio, but actually thinking about the same moment in time, trying to pin down that magical moment from daylight to darkness and seeing if I could replicate that in the paint. So that's a bit of an overview, a whistle-stop tour of what I do. And I kind of tend to think that creative process is, any creative process is a great way of exploring the world, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what just struck me, Alison, from that, besides them being absolutely beautiful, is, two things came out for me. The first was how, in my mind, painting has always been you've either got a talent or you haven't, a very technical thing, and you can learn it. But from what I got from your paintings there was that it's more about how you were feeling about that thing and how it made you feel, and that was very reflected beautifully in those paintings.
Yeah, it is. I'm more interested in painting how something feels than how it necessarily looks, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that leapt out at me was how the subjects that were often you were talking about through the paintings were quite hard and quite deep stuff. So, like the icebergs melting, and how depicting that in such a beautiful way enables us to have those. It's almost an invitation to a conversation in a much kinder, subtler approach.
Yeah, it is. And I think very often creative process is a way of addressing issues that are very hard to deal with. So, and recently I did some work in a prison with some men in the jail as part of the education program there. And via the art, we were able to talk about an extraordinary range of topics that would have been very hard to approach normally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
To be honest, I think.
Oh, thank you for giving us a window into your world there. That was beautiful. And there's a lot of love for you in the chat. People are saying, Alison, your paintings are beautiful. Yeah, a couple of people there. So thank you. I'm going to invite Marina and Chloe back now, and then we can wrap up this session, which has been absolutely wonderful. Welcome back, everybody. Again, thank you all so much for your time. I would love it if we were able to each leave our audience with maybe either an encouragement of one thing that you'd like them to take away and maybe have a go at doing from here, or a book or a podcast or a film or a website that is stuck in your mind that other people might want to take a look at too. Shall we start with you, Chloe?
Yeah, so actually my favourite podcast is called How to Fail by Elizabeth Day, and it's actually all about, how our failures in life actually, make us better and the learnings we can take from that. And she interviews lots of celebrities and journalists and things, and it's just so inspiring. So I would say that is a really good podcast that I would recommend.
That sounds great. That Permission to Fail. Brilliant. That's really lovely. Marina, if you got anything that you'd like to add?
Very similar, actually, to Chloe. Mine would be Brene Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. I think her work is absolutely amazing. Very similar to what Chloe's saying. It's, reframing what vulnerability really means.
I've become addicted to Brene Brown and sort of the daring to lead hub that she does as well. Thank you, Marina. Alison, anything that you'd like to leave people with?
Yeah, I would suggest taking 10 minutes out of your day and bothering to just listen to what's around you, or to look at something in a fresh way, even if it's just a dandelion, but actually spend the time to look at the colours and how the light sits on it, maybe draw it. I just think it's worth spending that time to look at something in a different way.
Beautiful, and rounds up our session really nicely. Thank you, Alison. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're in actual windows, doesn't it, on here? But yeah, thank you for giving us an insight and a window into each of your worlds. It's been absolutely brilliant to spend this time with you. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.